Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Bestech Blind Fury, designed by a gentleman who goes by at KOMBOU on Instagram. His name is Grabarski. I'm so sorry. I know I butchered it. I am terrible with pronunciations, but make sure you follow him. Every time this guy designs a knife for Bestech, it ends up being like wildly more aesthetically interesting and wildly more complicated in general for their machines than a lot of other stuff that they manufacture. I've come to respect him as a designer for that, because if you look back through his past designs for Bestech and his designs in general, it's just flat out more interesting. So that's definitely something to take note of. Thanks so much to my patrons for supporting me. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. And thanks so much to Bestech for sending these knives in for me to take a look at. This is available in a few different configurations. I will link it right down in the description. It does help my channel when you use those links before you buy something, but that's entirely up to you. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of this knife. So the overall length of the Blind Fury is coming in about 8 1/4. Blade length is coming in at about 3 1/2, and your cutting edge is also 3 1/2 inches. So this is, by my own definition, a full-size knife. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2. You can see here it's closer to the size of the Rat 1. How about up against let's do the CJRB Pyrite, sure. And let's do the large Pyrite. There we go. And then I think maybe let's just do one more. Let's put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Benchmade Bug Out. How's the action on this guy? Very, very good. Access to the lock bar is good. The flipper tab is very low profile. You're not going to be able to catch it, really. Technically, even there, even that short distance, the ball is up on the face of the blade. The moment the detent ball actually passes is literally right there. So you could do that. This is a little bit difficult for people who like to disengage their knives and then have the flipper tab stop the blade from coming down so you can move your thumb out of the way. Not really the safest or easiest knife to do that with. I find myself sort of disengaging it like this, which is less satisfying for those of us who like to fidget, right? The knife can be front flipped and it works really well. It's just sort of rounded over, but the jimping has enough texturing that it'll let you do that. Both deployments work fine. The action is tight out of the box, but it's smooth enough and consistent. The detent is really great, and this will inevitably just get smoother over time. It honestly feels like most Bestechs do right out of the box. So it's good. It works. Exactly what you want. Let's do length and height up against the PM2. Let's do carry profile. Let's do thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It is definitely a little bit thicker, but the scales are slightly, at least, contoured in areas. There's so many different lines here, slightly, unless just the inlay area is what's doing it. It might actually be a little more flat than I'm thinking. It just feels like we have these concave areas and these convex areas. I think the inlays are slightly rounded. But it is definitely thicker than the Spyderco Para 3. Length and height up against the PM2 and the Para 3. Where's the PM2? Right there. Yeah, this guy really is, once it's folded, it doesn't take up a whole lot more space than the Para 3, especially when you consider height, right? It's way shorter than the PM2. But it is made almost entirely out of titanium, so it's going to be a little bit heavier. Let's weigh it. Materials. I like this material. Carbon fiber mixed with copper. I think that looks really cool. It's these weird carbon fiber and some other material combination, like it's hit or miss. And I gotta be honest, most of the time it's a miss for me. I'm like, that just looks like vomit. That looks like state fair vomit. Like you ate a bunch of candy and corn dogs and a funnel cake and you puked and they were like, hey, let's, that'd make a great scale material, right? But the black and the copper, I think, looks pretty good. I got so excited, I spit all over the blade. So anyways, we have that. We have M390, and we have coated titanium, a DLC or PVD coated titanium. I think it's DLC. I believe it's DLC. I could be wrong about that, but I believe it's DLC. Weight. Honestly, way less than I thought. I thought it was going to be at least 4.5 ounces, about 4 ounces. We do have some weight reduction on the inside there, so not bad at all considering it's a full-size knife with full titanium scales, just a area milled out for the inlay. Okay, let's do a hardware check. I'll get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel, or in the pinned comment if you can't be bothered to open the description, which is understandable. The pivot is a T8. I think all the body screws are T6. That's fine. There's just a couple. As complicated as the frame looks, as busy as it looks, and I mean that in a good way, it really is a very simple construction. I mean, this is just sandwich construction, backspacer, 2 pieces of titanium, some bearings, a blade, right? A few pieces of hardware. That's it. Really easy. That's great. I wish it was T8, but it's not. No big deal. As long as you have quality tools and a place to put your hardware, you should be good to go. Let's go ahead and measure blade stock thickness. That looks like 140 to me, 135 maybe. Maybe it's thicker. I don't know. Let's find out. It is thicker. 146 thousandths is what I'm coming up with. So, okay. I think that's, did we get everything there? Hardware check. We did the thing. Yeah, okay. Meat and potatoes time. Wow, that is an aggressive Tanto. It's interesting, right? Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that this aesthetic should be pleasing to everybody. It obviously won't be. What I do want to do is have people take note of, when a lot of times when you look at a Bestech knife, whether you like it or not, on the premium end, you might be thinking, wow, that one looks a little bit more busy. There's a lot more going on there. There's a lot more complexity in it than some of these other Bestech knives. And I'm not saying Bestech does a bad job, but a lot of those times you might be looking at a knife designed by this guy because his designs just have more going on. And I'll be real with you. This isn't my favorite aesthetic, but I still appreciate, look at all the work in here. Look at these lines. They're so cool. And it's not like they're just lines for the sake of lines. I think this whole thing flows together nicely. There's curvature down here, right? These little scalloped areas. I love how the inlay is positioned and how it comes up here and goes around the pivot. And look at that pivot. That's his signature pivot. So you'll always know, right? Almost looks like a third faction between, you got Autobots, you got Decepticons, and then you got whoever these guys are. But it looks cool, right? A nice pivot collar. I love the black with the black and copper carbon fiber. I think it looks great. Even the backspacer just has a little bit more detail in it to keep it from being boring. The pocket clip, same thing. There's just a ton of stuff going on here. The tip is a little bit, pointy, but everything goes together. And then you get the blade out, and it's a satin finished Tanto, but it's such a long, aggressive Tanto, and it looks different than the other Tantos that we normally see. Boy, that blade... God, that thing is pointy, man. That is one heck of a puncture blade. I mean, my goodness, it does look cool, right? I'm not a Tanto fan, and like I said, this general aesthetic is not, my cup of tea. But I'll appreciate it for being unique. It just seems like this guy has no problem creating things that stand out from the crowd, which is important because we have so many designs that look exactly the same, and it is so unbelievably boring, no matter how practical they are, how minimalist they are, right? Ugh, I'm sick of it. I would much rather have a design that it's not even my cup of tea. I'd rather have it now because it's just more interesting. It's not boring. And this knife is anything but boring, right? It's cool. M390, we got a little flat there. Just Combo's logo, and then M390. They didn't put any stupid codes or anything all over it. Didn't try to blow the logo up all huge. As per usual, Bestech's overall ability to execute the materials used is just great. Bestech's quality is fantastic. They've been that way for a while, but I think they've just gotten better, really. And I think that I keep calling him Combo. I think it's Kambu. And I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but it's easier to say than his name. I think that they are demonstrating this the best with his work, alongside a couple other things out there, right? But his work is really, Bestech is able to really show off what they're capable of doing, right? And this isn't even his most complicated design. I just appreciate it for what it is. There's no mounting position for lefties. I'm sorry. It should have been designed that way, but it wasn't, right? That's a bummer. We got a steel lock bar insert that doubles as the over travel stop. I'm pretty sure this is an internal. No, I'm wrong. Look at that. Look how deep that thing is in both the closed, this stop pin is for both the closed position and the open position, but man, you just see it for a second. Hello. And then he's gone because it's deep underneath there. That's fine. No blade play up, down, left, or right. No lock stick. Great access to the lock bar. No pivot lash. Consistent, but a little bit tight. Very good detent. And are we centered? We are. We're perfectly centered. Price is a little bit high. Yeah, it's titanium, carbon fiber, and M390, right? But it doesn't take a super smart person to notice that there's a little bit more going on here than just, you know, a few rectangles and triangles of titanium, carbon fiber, and steel, right? That's not what's happening here. There's just a little bit more complex machining. So I do think that this knife justifies a slightly higher price tag, right? Yes, you can slap together titanium, M390, and carbon fiber for under $200. A little bit more involved, right? Some of those things you can justify up to $250. I think this is the type of knife that I would, you know, like, if it came in at like $270, I'd be like, I think that's reasonable. It comes in at like $303. So it's up there. It's really hard. Once you pass that especially when you pass that $299 territory, you get into the 300s. It's like you better be bringing the heat. These are still manufactured in China, where labor costs way less. I mean, people get heated about American knives that cost over $300. So it's, I'm not saying that it's not complicated or that it's not deserving of a higher price tag, but I do think it's still a little bit high. I think it's cool, and if you're into this thing, if you appreciate his work, or you just want something different, and you're super bored with the other premium knives that are being offered by WE and Bestech and all these other companies, right? His work in particular, you should probably look into it and see if there's anything that, you know, if not this, you should check and see if there's anything else he designs that you might like. Because you know, in this sea of stuff, everything just sort of melts together and blends together, and I'm just like, it's so rare to see anything stand out. Every time I get a Bestech, I'm like, oh, is this a combo, you know? And a lot of times it turns out to be, right? I mean, now I recognize his pivot and his logo, but yeah, this is cool. It's interesting, and I'll give it that. It's well designed, and it's really fun. Not a knife that I'm going to say everybody should be rushing out to buy, right? It's going to be specific people looking for specifically something like this. So yeah, that's all I've got. I'll link it down below. You guys can check out all the different variants. In my opinion, this is the best looking version. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.